So jumping right in, we're going to be using an Iwata HPCS Eclipse. This is a pretty expensive airbrush. Any dual action airbrush will do. This is just the one that I use. It's my preferred weapon of choice when it comes to painting all of my masks. So you're also going to want to have on hand some type of airbrush compressor. This is a mini airbrush compressor that I actually got with my Eclipse when I bought it. It just has an adjustable knob and a pressure gauge. It goes from 10 psi all the way up to 120. All you gotta do is twist the knob to adjust. The paint that we're going to be using is FW acrylic inks. This stuff is pretty good. I like it a lot. It's available at Hobby Lobby or Amazon in these little bottles or larger bottles. We're going to be using the black. We're also going to be using the sepia for a nice neutral undertone for shading. We're going to be using crimson for our red, and then last, of course, but not least, is we're going to be using our white. This stuff is mixed with alcohol. Don't use water, you have to use alcohol. I like to keep these little plastic mixing cups on hand. They're super cheap and easy to come by at Walmart or any grocery store or anything like that. Buy the styrofoam cups and plastic plates and stuff. I also like to keep some paper towels on hand just in case, you never know, and a variety of brushes and a cup of water to rinse them off in. Here we have our mask. We've already taken the liberty of trimming it, and we've also stained it with a little bit of the thinned down black ink. I've taken a Dremel and filed down the edges around the eyes and the lips and nostrils and things just so it's going to be comfortable for anybody that wants to wear it. Now, one thing I like to do is to keep a small cup, a secondary cup filled with alcohol just at the ready, so that way whenever I go to mix my paint, I'm not constantly having to worry about, dealing with this giant bottle of, liquid. So we're going to go ahead and start mixing up our paint with our black. All you really need is about, 2 or 3 droppers full or a cap full or 2. You don't really use a whole lot of this stuff. Like I said, it's a little bit on the expensive side as far as paints are concerned, but I love it because it goes a very long way. Those little bottles will last a very long time. Now, typically, the mix ratio for this paint is about 1:1, 1 part paint, 1 part alcohol, but you can just kind of eyeball it. You want this to be of a thin, kind of like a runny, milky consistency, just so it flows easily through your airbrush at a low pressure. And we're going to just go ahead and throw that stuff right into the top of our airbrush or into your cup or whatever it is you're using to feed paint into your brush. And we're going to base this guy out in one nice even coat of white. I also like to test the paint on my forearm or something just to make sure that everything atomizes correctly and comes out nice and even, which it does. So here we go. Also, it's very important to clean your airbrush properly in between each color, so that way you don't have to worry about any cross-contamination. I like to keep a spritz bottle with some water on hand and a cup that I can junk any of my excess in. So you spray it with water, backflow it a little bit like that, and then just dump it out. And then you like to squeegee it out afterwards with a paper towel, so you get a nice, shiny, clean cup. So that way your color on the next go around isn't going to be contaminated with any color of the previous use. Now that we have everything base coated and nice and even in our white, we're going to mix up our black. Now we're mixing this a little bit thinner. You can see how it kind of just runs off the edges of the cup like that. And this is because we don't want the black to be too harsh. We're going to use it as a shading element to bring out some of these forms and all these wrinkles and little subtleties in the sculpt. And we don't want that black to be too heavy. Otherwise, it's just going to look crazy and kind of like a, cartoony. So you can see here it's just a nice thin, almost gray. That's what we want. We want that. Now, to seal this sucker, we're going to use Plasti Flossifier. It is available at any home improvement store or paint supply store. You just want to make sure that you get the glossifier. It's a rubberized coating that is sprayable through a can. It's flexible so it doesn't peel up. It's just really great stuff for clear coating and sealing latex masks. Make sure your paint's dry. You want to let this dry for about 20 or 30 minutes before you start this process. Give it a good shake. You also, if it's a can that you've used before, you want to make sure to pick any excess rubber that may have dried up on the tip away, otherwise it'll affect the evenness of the spray that comes out. So just give it a couple shakes, and you don't want to spray it too heavily because it will run, so just give it a nice even coat. Now once you let that dry for about 20 minutes, and you're good to go. You have a nice, evenly coated, evenly painted, very nice mask. Man, looks like it looks cool, doesn't it? And that's it. So I hope you guys enjoyed the series of videos. Of course, feel free to follow me so you can follow my work. And as always, if you want to purchase one of these, feel free to contact me. This is what I do for a living, and our guys gotta eat. So thanks a lot, guys. See you around.